Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. We're here for a special coffee and cursey words because we are doing royal we, me, I'm us. When I say we, I always mean us, law nerds, like all y'all plus me. We are doing a live kind of reacts breakdown to the very first court hearing in the Westbrook defamation suit. I also put up a case brief video this morning. If you need to catch up, it is a quick, for Emily, video breaking it down. So today's breakdown of the case will be really short. I am going to do our coffee and cursey words things and then get into everything that was said in this hearing from my notes. I know that that's what you guys want to talk about, so there's nothing left to do but just get into it. Hi there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker. I'm the badass lawyer, host of The Emily Show podcast, and I am a legal commentator breaking down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories that we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I am a big fan of the cursey words, so headphones are recommended. This is where the law nerds unite with facts, not fuckery. Yep, I like it. Look, I had the music written. I still dig it. It slaps every time for me. And every time the intro is going, I'm sitting in my chair going, okay, this is what we're talking about today. So for everyone watching on the replay, there will be timestamps all up and down below. For the 4,000 of you watching live, hi, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, this is what we do here. I'm going to give a quick case breakdown in just a moment. But the first order of business today, you guys, it's Tuesday. And the one thing we do for coffee and cursey words on Tuesday is rule on the court of public opinion. So we're going to get into that very quickly, do our court of public opinion, do some housekeeping for what's coming up the rest of the week. And then the rest of the time is going to be this court hearing and your questions about it. But I can't leave you hanging. We have to decide on this week's court of public opinion. Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no? The results may surprise you. Y'all, I had so much fun with this week's court of public opinion. I was honestly surprised by the results. I'm not going to lie. I was surprised. Y'all brought it. The court of public opinion rules in favor of pineapple. Like, come through, pineapple. We had over 3,800 votes this week, and pineapple won the day. So y'all, court of public opinion says pineapple on a pizza? Yes, absolutely. But this was our closest court of public opinion this far. We do court of public opinion here every Friday. We put out a topic during Friday Night Live, and then on Tuesdays, we rule on the topic, and the court of public opinion has spoken. Y'all have spoken, and it is pineapple on pizza. And one of the executive team, NJ, was sending me pictures of her pineapple pizza. She's like, look, y'all talked about it so much. I have to have it. It's delicious. We talked about whether tomatoes were a fruit. We talked about all the things, but you guys had lots and lots of input. So Hawaiian pizza is a favorite. People are like, fruit can't be on pizza. Shh, tomato is a fruit. Yes, Kyla, we got lots and lots of feedback on tomato being a fruit. So the Twitter was all a Twitter about it. And I'm I love this GIF, but people just very strong opinions, and I appreciate all of you for participating in the court of public opinion. So as I said, we got lots and lots of feedback on this one. If you guys don't follow me on social, I'm at the Emily D. Baker everywhere. So pineapple with bacon is literally the bee's knees. With ham, yuck, but bacon, delish. I mean, I get it. I get it. What about hot pineapple? Some people have never had hot pears or apples, and it shows. I'm one of those people. I don't like hot fruit. But the court of public opinion has definitely said pineapple is what it is. Pineapple is what it is. So pineapple's what's hot on pizza. Because I know you guys all want to talk about this ruling and hearing, I'm going to give a quick breakdown. But as I said, there's a whole video on it. I just did one. I just did a case brief, which is what I think I'm going to call them when I do a kind of breakdown of the case and get it up to date. So the case brief video is live. It's got every single thing that has happened up till the end of the month. There were also a few new documents filed that really are just going to the motion to seal that aren't super consequential. That'll be ruled on. There will probably be a declaration under seal. But we just need to get into it. And then I can get to your questions. So I will get to questions after. I'm going to just go through all of this and then get directly into your questions so we can have a chat. For you guys who are just like, you disavow the ruling. Here's the thing with the ruling. It's the court of public opinion. You are welcome to disagree with the court of public opinion. That is absolutely 100% your right. So quick breakdown of where we're at with the Tati Westbrook versus Without a Crystal Ball, Katie Joy Paulson defamation lawsuit. This lawsuit was filed on October 30th, 2020. It feels like we've all lived 10 lifetimes since then. A lot has happened, but what happened today was that the defense attorney had filed a motion for a status conference. Your Honor, Mom, we need to have a chat about this case, please. And that is what the court did today. The court just jumped into letting the attorneys go back and forth with what has been going on with this case with regards to social media in this case. That was the crux of the hearing today. The court had some strong words for the attorneys to tell them what she was thinking of this behavior. The court is a female judge. Of course, I'm going to refer to her as the court, but Judge Barbara Rothstein was very strong in her languaging, but did not flip the fuck out on anybody, which is very judicial of her. She was just like, and again, it's an audio conference, so you can hear it, and it was just like, what we're not going to do, what we're not going to do, what we're not going to do, what we're not going to do is continue to do this. So I took really thorough notes on it. I'm going to just break down for you what I heard. I think the court pulled it over. I absolutely think the court pulled over the lawsuit and had a chat with everybody. And I think that that's exactly what needed to happen in this case. I think the court said some things that I had been talking about in my videos, and the court really absolutely said that this case is not going to be discussed on social media by the people that she is in control of. And again, the court is in control of the attorneys and the parties. I think the court made it very clear at the end of the day, the takeaway from it, if you're just like, girl, what's the quick... It binged. Girl, what's the quick tea? The takeaway is the court said, I do not want to see the attorneys or the parties talking about this case on social media. The court indicated that she had never issued a gag order in a case and is not inclined to do so, that she thinks doing so is embarrassing to the attorneys and disrespectful because everyone should be able to act like adults, was essentially my summary of what she said. Like, why the fuck aren't we acting like adults? That's what she said. So I'm going to go through my notes of the entire hearing. It was a 37-minute hearing. It felt a bit longer, but you can see from this hearing, I took away a lot of information about how the attorneys are interacting because you can see the back and forth and the frustration from both sides for sure. So I guess I'm just giving my impressions and then I'll break it down. So my impressions are Brown is tremendously frustrated and feels that Saltsy is skirting the line when he's talking, that it's like, okay, well, you're not accusing KJ of doing these things, but you're implying it strongly enough that it's accusatory, and that's not okay, and that's troubling. Then you get Salty saying, okay, but that's not exactly what I said, and your client keeps talking about the case. So it's just this back and forth between them, but the court has made it very clear that she expects the parties under her control, the attorneys and the litigants, to shut the fuck up about this case. The court said multiple times, this case will be tried in court, not on social media. This case will be heard here. And then said, hey, y'all, Emily, summary. The court did not say y'all once. Y'all, we're doing virtual trials. Do you want to speed this shit up? We'll get you into trial whenever you want. Maybe that's what you all need. And this is the court telling the attorneys to get their shit together, because she's saying, do you want me to speed up this trial date? We'll just speed up this trial date. We'll bring y'all into trial right now, which would include rapidly ramping up discovery and rapidly ramping up this case, which means the attorneys would be scrambling to get ready for trial. But the court was like, hey, let's just go ahead and just bring this to trial then. If y'all are going to fuck around on the socials, we'll just have a trial. We can do it. We can do it whenever you want. Whenever you want. We'll just bring it into trial, which I thought was brilliant. The judge was just like, fine. If y'all can't shut up, we'll just speed up the trial, which would leave all of the attorneys scrambling. So I'm going to break down my notes. Then I'm going to answer your questions, and then we're going to go forward. So there are over 8,000 of you here. Thank you. Thumbs up, and go ahead. And if you're not subscribed, do the things. Maybe it'll turn over again while we're live. Who knows? We'll see. Let's break down what I heard on this telephone conference. It's been a while since I've been on a phone conference for a court. I used to hate doing court call in state court because you would have to sit through hearings like this one for other cases that weren't yours. And you were just like, oh my God. The court did not rule on jurisdiction. I see a lot of that. The court did not rule on jurisdiction. The court said, I will rule on jurisdiction, and then we will be moving forward. The court did not say anything else about jurisdiction, but let me get to the notes. The judge was kind of epic. I dug her. She was kind. She was firm. You could tell that she was annoyed. She was definitely like, why the fuck can't you all take care of this together? And then as you heard the attorneys talk, you could hear it. So at the hearing today were counsel for, let me pull up my G drive because I didn't catch his name. Washington counsel for Tati Westbrook, Salty's associate counsel who filed a declaration in this last round of declarations, and then Brown. But I wanted to pull up the name of Washington counsel because I could have sworn the court said Michael, and I'm like, Washington counsel's last name can't be Michael. How many Michaels can there be? Because we've got Michael Saltz and Michael Brown. Washington counsel's last name cannot also be Michael. So I couldn't catch the name of Washington counsel, but Washington counsel was also on the phone. So Alana Levine, Michael Saltz, and Washington counsel. The Washington counsel signed on this is Jeffrey Blanco, but I don't know if that's who was on the phone, but Washington counsel for the Westbrooks was on the phone as well. So eventually, here, let me pull up Pacer too as I'm doing the things, because the judge will issue a formal ruling and we'll have like the language of that ruling in there. Whether that will be today or tomorrow, I don't know, but let me pull it up so that we can get to it when we're done at the end of this. And I said I wasn't going to answer questions to the end. And then, of course, I get distracted by questions. The attorneys were the ones who made appearances. Whether the parties were listening in or not, I do not know, because this was a status conference. That is a conference for the attorneys. So whether the clients were listening, the clients could call in, absolutely could choose to call in, or the attorneys can relay to their clients what happens. If it were me, I would want to hear what my attorneys were saying in court, and I would want to hear the tone of the court. I would want to hear the way things were said, as opposed to hearing somebody else's impression of the way things were said. So if it were me, I would be there, but it just depends. So that is up to the parties. All right, let me pull up my notes, and we're going to just go through what was said. All right. So it started with the court asking who was going to, you guys, please don't raid the chat. It's super, super distracting. And the mods will not. It is not Twitch. We do not raid. It is not done on the YouTubes. So please do not raid the chat. It is rude on the YouTubes to raid. And I appreciate it that it's funny on Twitch, but it is distracting on the YouTube. So thanks. The court started with asking kind of who wanted to go first and why they were there, acknowledging all the attorneys. Brown stated on the record that he asked for a hearing because he was concerned about the social media usage in this case. And again, these are my notes from the hearing, so this is my summary of what was said. Some things I will directly quote as I thought they were relevant, but most of this is just my summary. That Brown was frustrated with emails sent from Saltsy et al. Accusing KJ of hacking. Then Brown said, there is constant tweeting on behalf of plaintiff's counsel Saltz, that there is constant social media presence, and that Saltsy was personally attacking KJ in his tweets, that Brown had never seen anything like this, doesn't really know what to do with this, is unclear what should be done short of the court getting involved, and said basically we need help from the court, and then relayed his frustration with this, that counsel responded to Brown's request for a status conference with a 78-page declaration. That would be the NAT declaration, accusing Paulson, these are Brown's words, of harassing a disabled woman to the point of suicide, that the declaration was improper. Later in the hearing, Brown says he believes that declaration was filed in bad faith, meaning it was done to kind of smear or besmirch KJ, so that the declaration was not filed for valid court purposes. That counsel's use of Twitter is completely improper, and that Brown and the defendants want the court's guidance because they believe it is the use by Saltsy of Twitter is abusive, prejudicial, and hurting KJ's business. Then the court heard from Washington counsel for Tati Westbrook. And again, I did not hear his name, but he said that the request was for a status conference, and he was unclear exactly what relief was being requested from KJ's side in the defense, because they weren't super clear. And I think it makes sense given that Brown was like, I don't know what we want either. We just want the court's guidance. Like, seriously, make it stop. Like, make it stop. Oh God, make it stop. That's kind of Brown's position in all of this. Oh, sweet Jesus, make it all stop. Make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. So that's what Brown's position was in all of this. Washington counsel for the Westbrook said they did not brief a gag order, that Brown had only presented one side of what was going on, that the defendant herself had not stopped making videos and hasn't stopped tweeting about this case, that Saltsy's use of Twitter was to identify witnesses and respond to things that were being said, instigated by defendant, that the precipice that had been filed in this case had been identified from social media. And then he brought it back to jurisdiction, saying, look, the way we've discovered some of these witnesses with regard to jurisdiction is because this is a social media case and because of defendants' own actions on social media. So that was kind of the nature of the thing. Then Washington counsel turned it over Saltz and said that Saltsy hadn't directed communications at Paulson, and that the overwhelming majority of the shit on social media was finding witnesses, finding evidence, and then responding to what the defendant, KJ, was doing on social media. The court said in that, interrupted and said, he is entitled to use it for that, he, Saltsy, but let's focus on the accusations here regarding the hacking, nothing to do with finding witnesses. And this goes to when the court was speaking, is Saltsy accusing KJ of being at the heart of this hacking that's been going on social media? And I say hacking because it looks like most of this was attempted hacking based on what the statements were, or it was phishing, things like that. And that the parties get into that a little bit more later. So Saltsy was on the record and explained that he was strikingly disappointed in the way Brown has said things. Saltsy Brown went right in after Saltsy, and Saltsy went right in after Brown in the way that lawyers do. But this case has kind of popped off so early with these two attorneys. Dislike for one another, it seems, and frustration with each other. It definitely seems that Saltsy was saying Brown is saying things that aren't there. He's interpreting things into documents that aren't there. He is accusing plaintiff's counsel of accusing defendant. It's like, he's saying I'm doing this, but I'm not doing this. And I'm just like, oh gosh, okay. Okay, so Salty's saying, Brown's saying we're doing this, we're saying we're not doing this, but he's saying, look, it's right here in this email that he's doing this. And Salty's saying, that's not what that shit says. And Brown is saying, but that's what is implied. And then it just continued with this back and forth. Salts went through that tweet that we've seen before, the someone's using a familiar email address. It's in 2 of the declarations that I've broken down extensively. Then Salts brings up the fact that there was a tweet from KJ that said, just like you can see our emails, we can see your emails, or just like we're being watched, you're being watched, emails go both ways, that kind of thing, saying that that seemed to be a indication that plaintiff's counsel's emails were being monitored and that he took it as that, and then asked social media, is this a admission of hacking? Later on in this, Brown said, it's a little too cute that Salty is framing these things as questions so he can deny that he's directly saying them when the implication is clear. Brown also said, when you read the replies to a lot of these tweets, it's clear that people took them as implied, not as directly stated. And the court seemed to be on board with the implications, saying, well, it seems to be what you think, even if it's not directly what you said. And we'll get into that in a minute. So they went through, when Salty was speaking to the court, he went through the fact that Twitter, and his word was, went ablaze with people being lashed out at on Twitter. He said that detractors of Paulson, or those that dared stand up to Paulson, were doxxed, were threatened, were harassed, and that he sees that emails go both ways tweet, and then later says he sees the video where she said, send me who's giving you a hard time, DM me, I'll put them on blast. That came up again later on. So Salty went into the death threats, the fact that he asked Brown directly, do you know anything about this? Do you know what's going on? Salty said he never accused Paulson of anything, didn't accuse Brown of anything, but is trying to figure out what's going on, that the emails speak for themselves. Salts went into the fact that he had received death threats that his children would go missing, and that threats that non-public information would be disclosed, and in some cases was disclosed. The court then said, yeah, I get the picture. She didn't say yeah. She said, I get the picture. Brown said, I agree. And she asked Brown, well, what do you say to that? Brown said the court can read the emails. There's evidence of open communications and planning between the hackers and your clients, is what Brown said, Salty said to him. And that he said, that's accusing us. And Salty said, I believe after this, that was on Twitter, but it might just be me interpreting that it was on Twitter, because there are screenshots that have been going around of those accounts on Twitter. That was in one of these declarations. There's like 4 of them. Then Salty said, no. Then Brown said Salty tweets about the case constantly, and he makes some questions so he could deny it. It's a little too cute the way that he says it, but the context is obvious. The context is accusatory. And then Brown took issue with the fact that Salty had said something about KJ spending more time with her family. Like, what business does a lawyer have kind of taking pot shots at a party in this case? The court asked Brown directly, does your client have any idea where these are coming from? And Brown said no. She denies any involvement. She's a very smart person. And I've now spoken to the FBI. So it seems that the attorneys for both sides have spoken to the FBI. But if that's the case, why didn't that just happen when all this started? I'm still confused as to why it got so defensive so fast, as opposed to, as I said in the other video, as opposed to the attorneys being like, yeah, we need to figure out who's doing this. Somebody's trying to get involved in this case, and this is a problem. We'll get there. That it continues to be my feeling in this, and my confusion as to these two seem so locked horns that they're not communicating about the bigger issue. And the bigger issue is why there are death threats happening, why there is information being leaked. If somebody is trying to imply or make it seem that KJ is behind this, why is someone going after her in that way? And instead of saying Salty's the one causing the problems, Salty and Brown should be together saying, okay, this is not the context that this case is going to handle. But that is an Emily tangent. We're going to get there. Then Brown went in to attack the Kennett declaration, Nat's declaration, and said that the witness's credibility has been destroyed, that Brown says that the emails being forwarded from Kennett, this argument was hard for me to follow. It seems that Brown's argument is that because Nat was receiving emails purportedly from Brown, and that those emails he didn't write, it clearly shows that she was the one fabricating these emails, versus why aren't we looking into Emily extrapolation? Why aren't we looking into who's sending them? And Saltzy addresses that later in this hearing, but he said clearly she's forwarding emails that nobody thinks are real. So if she's forwarding emails nobody thinks are real, then clearly she's the one making them. And I think that deduction is too far of a leap for me personally, that, oh, well, she's getting these emails or saying she's getting these emails and these emails are fake, ergo she faked emails. I don't understand why that's the conclusion versus ergo, this is a problem and we need to figure out who's behind it. But either way, it seems that Brown's position is that the Nat declaration was presented to the court recklessly just to make accusations towards KJ. I'll let you decide. I have a whole video breaking down that declaration. And it is what it is. That declaration says what it says. I did not like the way that he just said that, basically Nat has different mental disorders, so clearly she's unreliable. I think that was dismissive, but at the end of the day, if the court wants to evaluate it, they will, but this only goes to the hacking stuff. It's not really relevant to anything else in this case. It's context, but I don't know if that needs to be evaluated further until it's discovered who's behind what's happening. So the court then said, I've heard enough. I've heard enough to just say this. Nobody asked us for or briefed a gag order. The court does not intend to issue one. I will go this far. All of this behavior is unfitting of attorneys. And the court was literally like, no. All of this behavior is unfitting attorneys. There are rules of attorney responsibility behavior in California and Washington, and those would prohibit what is going on in this case. So the court does not like what is happening with the attorneys in this case. And I also took that to mean does not like what's happening with Saltzy, because he's the only one on social media in this case. The court said, I have not issued a gag order. I'm not necessarily been asked for one. I'm not doing this, but I expect this to stop. I only have control over some of the people in this case. The court has control over the attorneys and the parties. And again, it's like you're in my courtroom. I have control over the attorneys and the parties. And the court made it very clear, I want this to stop. I do not want the attorneys to be involved in this kind of behavior. It will be tried in court. It will not be tried on social media. The court does not want to go through page by page of accusations. It all could be somebody else's name. This is ridiculous, and it's taking up the court's time. I will strike a warning. If this goes on, I will consider issuing a gag order. I have never issued one, and I can't imagine it would be necessary. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it is what she said. Stop working with your clients on any of this. We can shorten time on this case to get it heard closer to now so that you can all just go back onto your social medias. It was as she was saying to them, like, if social media is that important to you, let's just go to trial and be done with this. And then y'all can get back to your social medias and then we'll be fine. She suggested taking breaks from social media if it was going to be too hard to not be on social media regarding this case. She said, I don't want it going down while my case is still pending, essentially. This will stop with regard to the people involved, the attorneys and the clients. She goes on to say, I have no control over anyone else. The only people I can tell what to do are the attorneys and the clients. I am making it perfectly clear. I don't want to go through emails to see who's doing what to whom. And this was literally like, stop telling me what he's doing. Talk to each other and knock it the fuck off. Like, talk to one another and stop it. I don't want to go through emails to see who's doing what to whom. Basically to me saying, stop filing all this shit, linking his entire Twitter account and your entire email thread. Both of you, stop it. Maybe the best thing is to shorten time so this doesn't keep percolating up. We can try this case whenever. We're doing remote trials. Maybe having this go on is just too tempting to people. I love that the court was like, we'll just go to trial now. We can just go to trial now. I'm here. I'm here all day, people. I am here. I have a courtroom. We're on virtual. We're doing trials by like Zoom and shit. Let's just go. Let's go. I'm ready. The attorneys aren't ready. Like, they haven't even started discovery yet, but I like that she threw it out there. To the extent it involved attorneys or clients in this case, I want it to stop. Probably that's enough unless anyone needs to say anything else. So the court there said, that's probably it. But wait, there's more, because the attorneys were like, actually, that's not it. We're not done chatting. So then Brown said the emails appear from Brown threatening. No one said they came from Brown. So Brown was trying to say, wait, I didn't mean to imply that they said the emails were from me or threatening from me. It's causing concern because of what they're purported to be. And it makes me question what the other side is saying. And it makes me question the declaration. And that's what it was. So the court said, it sounds like everyone in this is being victimized in some ways. The court said death threats are crazy and outrageous. The court said it's awful that Brown thinks that you think. So the court literally had to say it's terrible that Brown thinks, that plaintiff's counsel thinks that he's the one behind any of this. And then she said, I can picture a horrible year coming up with what's going on. Y'all need to stop accusing each other and find a way to fight what's going on here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The judge and I are totally on the same page with this. Y'all need to stop fighting with each other and figure out the context of what's going on and who's behind it. Exactly. I was like, yes, yes, yes. I don't know how everyone got so in the weeds with fighting with each other that the bigger point is missed, but we'll get there because we learned some stuff about these emails through what Salty said next that was fascinating to me. You need to stop accusing each other and find a way to fight what's going on here. You have to figure out a way to communicate with each other. Someone is misbehaving. Maybe it isn't counsel. Maybe it isn't the clients. Maybe it's somebody else. There has to be a way to section off communication. And the court went into, you guys have to figure out a way to authentically communicate with each other. And if emails are suspect, essentially, then figure out a way to talk to one another. Brown said, I'm not suggesting that I thought they believed the emails were from me. I think the Kennett Declaration was filed in bad faith. It's unreliable. I don't think they thought it through. It's clear they were not accusing me, but it's pretty clear indication that she's unreliable. She's mentally disordered. And then she spewed these allegations to tens of thousands of people. Saltz then responded and said the Kennett Declaration contains information backed up by documents. The emails are from Brown's account. This was interesting to me. He said, we compared the emails from Brown that we received and the ones that Nat received and then forwarded to Saltzy. We tried to let him know that someone was using his email. The coding was compared. Brown said that the emails were fake. They were not. Nat doesn't own a computer, and what they're accusing her of is preposterous. And he went on to explain that the coding in the emails from the emails sent from Brown to Salty directly and the emails sent from Brown's email to Nat are coded the same, meaning they're from the same server, from the same email address, which was, I think, news to all of us. And I was like, oh, so the emails are now a very big problem if someone has access to Brown's email to be sending these emails. Because again, they don't think Brown's at the keyboard and they never said that, but someone is using his email to create problems and, per Salty's side, intimidate witnesses. Per Brown's side, they think it's Nat doing it. Then he talked about the investigation that they're doing, the computer expert that they're using, that he started saying this is not an evidentiary hearing, but I don't like the attacks on Miss Kennett. She never accused Paulson of doing anything. Nat shared her experiences, and Nat shared that Paulson told her supporters to go attack her detractors and put them on blast. That video was linked in Salty's declaration and others. Salty said he thought it was a dog whistle, essentially, to the supporters of KJ when she's like, just DM me and we'll put them on blast. Because 8 days after that is when everything kind of popped off. The court interceded and said, do you think the defendant is behind this, Mr. Saltz? I think there is an investigation. And he said, I think there is instigation or encouragement from her, and that it took over 2 weeks for her to publish a statement condemning this behavior. The court said, that's exactly what I want to stop. I can see what's going to happen if you keep responding this. And the court said, if we keep going back and forth, I can see where these implications are problematic to the defendant and where the defendant wants these types of implications to stop. And then Brown said, and this is exactly the problem. This is now all being said, knowing that people are listening, and that's where their frustration is. So the court said, again, it needs to stop. The court said, I don't know about Ms. Kennett's comments, but if inflammatory comments are being filed, then you're going to have to give them to the other side and then bring them to the court to allow for objections. essentially so it doesn't all just end up flying around everywhere. The court again said, let's stop it. I can tell everyone involved to stop so we can keep this trial in the court. Everyone involved is going to stop, essentially talking about this. Brown then said that the statements by Saltz were directed at the social media audience listening in, and that he said he would hate to be living in a post-factual world. Agreed. And then he again said that he was frustrating with what Saltz is saying to the court is not exactly what's in Nat's declaration. So this declaration does accuse Ms. Paulson. And then Saltz said, actually, no, that's not what that says. But if we need to get into the whole declaration, we can. And the court's like, fuck no. She didn't say that. We're not doing that. I have a whole video breaking down those declarations. Read them how you will. The court said, I have been very clear. I do not want this going on. Before any more Kennett declarations are filed, I want them reviewed to see if there's anything that's possibly dangerous. I interpreted her to be saying that is damaging to either parties in a way that's kind of irrelevant. The court said, I've heard enough. You know the professional responsibilities of attorneys. You should not be involved. Your clients should not be involved. If this goes on, the counsel and clients, I will be involved. So the court's saying, let me be clear. If this shit continues, I will be involved with all of you. All of you knock it off. The court's ruling is clear. Let's not have this happening in the future. This case should be tried in court and not on social media. And that was it. And then she adjourned. I think the court was very, very clear that she anticipates all parties to not talk about this case at all going forward. I imagine we'll see a minute order summarizing her ruling at some point today or tomorrow, but the court made it very clear. The court said stop it at least 16 times. I mean, I didn't count directly, but the court said stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop talking, stop all of it, stop accusing each other, work together. If someone is using your work email, you all should be figuring out who's behind this. Work together, figure it the fuck out, which is what we've been saying up here, law nerds. So, hi, let's answer questions. Let's answer questions. You guys, I didn't realize we had 10,000 up in the chat. That's amazing. Hello and thank you. Let's just try to go through it. Yes, the social media circus has gotten out of hand. Yes, I think it's being fanned by both sides. I absolutely think both sides are feeding this. I think that the interest of us here is because a lot of us followed Tati Westbrook. A lot of you followed KJ and Without a Crystal Ball before any of this. And so with that, I really think there is all natural interest, but then when it continued to be talked about, that's when it became a problem. And that's when you see the sniping back and forth. So absolutely. So let's see. Can Brown stop emailing Nat then? Brown is saying it's not him. So somebody is accessing his emails, which seems to be the biggest problem. I hope somebody got a screenshot of 10K watching. That's very, very, very exciting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're here and you're not liked and subscribed, then go ahead. Somebody get a screenshot. We'll just do this. Or we'll do this. All right, screenshots are done. Let me see. Oh, it binged. Thank you guys for subscribing. So if you're not subscribed here, go ahead and do it because you can watch it bing too. It's binged over twice while we've been here. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to answer questions. So let's answer questions, law nerds. Let's answer questions. Let's answer questions. Hello, Lisa. I told KJ she needed to take responsibility for making the comment to go defend her because some could take that as harassment to anyone who dislikes her. And I think this is where everyone's stopping talking about it, though it will be hard for the parties involved. At this point, it feels like the parties involved are Salty and KJ. Then it just goes back to people reading the documents that are filed in court, and that's it. There are no sassy cut-ins on videos if there's no statements being made, right? So it makes it a lot easier to keep going. So let's answer questions. I see a few super chats. If I missed any while I was just reciting the court hearing, I apologize. Donald Duck says, I imagine today being like the family dinner scene from the Incredible movies where the siblings are fighting and mom asks dad to intervene. He intervenes by lifting the table as they fight. That's exactly what today was. The court was like, all of you stop. I don't like what I'm seeing from the lawyers. I also have control of the defendants. I don't like it at all. Question from Emmy. What happens if the court does get involved? Oh, there can be sanctions. There can be gag orders. There can be stronger rulings. There can be, the court has said, I'm warning you. This is your only warning. Knock it the fuck off. If it does not, the judge can order people off of social media completely, including the parties and the attorneys in this case. I hope that it will settle down because, again, Brown made it clear in his statement, this is hurting KJ's business, and she is in the business of being on social media. So if she is able to talk about her other content and not talk about this case, then there's no reason for Salty to talk about this case, and then everything can just settle down, which is appropriate. Death threats regarding this case to anyone involved are fucking stupid. It shouldn't be happening. Salty indicated in his statement to the court that this was a paid effort based on their investigations. So they're going to be working on figuring out where that's coming from, and once that's figured out, there will be criminal investigations. That could be from any side. That could be from no one involved in the lawsuit. That could be from people that support KJ. That could be people that hate KJ. That could be from people who support Tati. That could be people who want to hate Tati. It's unknown. No one knows where that is coming from at this point. What Salty said today that hadn't been said before publicly that we've seen is, one, this seems to be a paid effort. And two, the emails that went to Nat from Brown's email are legitimate emails, though they don't believe Brown is the one sending them, meaning there's a problem there and there's a security leak with regard to Brown's emails. That's what they said. Little Sebastian said the judge seemed to not understand the tech side. Do they have staff that can explain stuff like email header spoofing? The judge has written books on digital evidence. I think the judge's perspective on this was, you all should be talking about this. I don't need to be involved. If there's somebody messing in this case, the attorneys on both sides should work together to figure out who's behind it. You all need to communicate with each other and investigate what's going on. She was very clear. Does this mean that KJ can't take pot shots at Salty through Brown? If that's possibly what's happening? It means that all the conversation on social should stop, is what I interpreted it to mean. I'm going to try to keep getting to questions. You guys, the mods in here, can we get a big thank you for the mods? With, 10,000 people on live, it gets busy, but go ahead and give a huge thank you to the mods. For those of you that aren't super familiar with me, I am ADHD. So the mods keep me from getting distracted so I can answer your questions. That's things like making sure we're not getting all caps on, that we're not getting spammed and things like that, because then I can't answer your questions because we get lost in spam. So, Emily, sorry. No need to start with sorry. Don't start with sorry, ladies. Never start with sorry. Just say hello. I saw KJ's video when she addressed Nat's harassment and she looked smug, paused, and go through frame by frame. Hopefully the conversations will just stop. It's clear in this case that it is the plaintiff's perspective that KJ is the one encouraging and riling this up. It's also clear that from defense perspective that plaintiff's attorney is using social media to try to damage the reputation of KJ. So that's what it is. That's where the two sides are. And I can see why both sides are saying that. I can see why the things KJ is doing are taken as instigation. I can see why the things Salty are doing, they are taking as instigation. I get it from both sides, but the thing is, somebody has to stop. Like, at some point, somebody has to stop. And the court said mutual disarmament. Sorry, the lips were getting sticky. Mutual disarmament is what the court said. And I don't even have hold on, we need my lightsaber. We need lightsaber lip gloss for everybody who's playing bingo. Members, I've been meaning to ask. Members, did you like the new emojis that we added? I want to know what you think of the emojis. We're going to be adding more, but I was very excited about them. Okay, let's go. The judge had a total mom tone, and I'm here for it. The judge did have a mom tone. She pulled the lawsuit over and said, y'all, stop it. Work together, figure it out. And I think that's exactly what both sides needed to hear. Hopefully that will happen. If it doesn't happen, we're going to see more filings in court with back to they're doing this and they're doing this. The thing I will say is that for an attorney, the court has not formally admonished everybody, but she's made it clear that this needs to stop. So if we see this popping off again, then I think we're not going to see that coming from Saltsy. I would be very surprised if it initiated with Saltsy. So the thing with attorneys is they have a limited purpose of being able to be on social. They can be on social to gather evidence and witnesses, and with things being screen recorded and tweets going up and down, I can see why Saltsy was so heavily on social media gathering those things. But also, I can see where Brown's like, no, that's too on the line. It seems like you're taking shots at our client. But also, if KJ never spoke about the case, then there wouldn't be screen recordings of videos that are gone. There wouldn't be screenshots of comments being deleted. None of that would exist. So that's where I think you're not going to see it instigating from plaintiff's side if defense side just stops. If everyone just stops, it'll stop. And that's what I've been saying from the beginning. If everyone just stops, it'll stop. So I'm going through looking for questions. Let's questions. Thank you. We got that one. Oh, I'm behind. I am behind. The Stop It family. Yeah, that's exactly what the court said. For sure. So, I missed a few things. Miss Raven, nevermore. I appreciate the Edgar Allan Poe reference. Would KJ actually, I think that with the amount, I cannot predict what someone else will do, but I think that the way that the court laid this out indicates that it all needs to stop. And if I were Brown, I would be like, no, let them be the ones that fuck this up first so I can go into court and lay them out. Let them be the ones to mess it up, which means we cannot be the ones to mess it up. That would be my perspective. What will happen from there, I don't know, but it's very, very clear that everything is being monitored with regard to this case. So it's clear that KJ is aware that if she pops off and then deletes, it's going to be screen recorded. And then Saltsy will be all too happy to go to the court and be like, Your Honor, you said stop it. They didn't stop it. They didn't stop it. You said stop it. They didn't stop it. Just like if Saltsy does anything, Brown is going to be all too happy to go to the court and be like, you said stop it. They didn't stop it. They didn't stop it. You said stop. They didn't stop. So I'm optimistic that it will just stop. So question, should Brown be more worried about every case he has being compromised now? I would be if somebody had my email credentials and was sending out emails that looked like I was intimidating a witness. I don't think Brown's behind the keyboard on that. I am very concerned that his email seems to have been compromised. I think he should be very concerned, but you never know what's going on behind the scenes with that concern and what their firm is doing to lock that down. He said he had been talking to the local FBI in the state of Washington about that. I know that Saltsy indicated he had spoken to the FBI and the LAPD regarding the threats his family had received. So hopefully it will be uncovered. Saltsy also indicated that that the email headers or the email coding was the same, but he also indicated that this was a paid effort. So then it's finding who's behind it. Did the judge say anything about the 45 lines? Nope, she sure didn't. I know you were waiting. She sure didn't. She said, I will rule on jurisdiction and we'll go from there. So I'm hoping that we will see a bench ruling on the jurisdiction issue soon. And that can just come in the way of a note to the docket or what have you. And then we will absolutely talk about it. I love seeing you guys use the new emojis. Thank you, members. I love seeing it. Very, very, very fun. Did Brown also say he's doing an investigation? He didn't say that. He said he had spoken to the FBI. Saltsy said he was doing an investigation. So I'm going to go through and get some more questions for sure. If you guys put question at the front, it's so much easy for you to see. I believe there's a y'all emoji. I think so. There might not be. If there isn't one, I will make it. Perfect. Welcome. Question. Who had the nicest voice? Please tell me Salt sounds hot on the phone. The court had a very resonant female voice. All the dudes kind of sounded the same to me. Sorry, dudes. All the dudes kind of sounded the same to me. Yeah, all the guys kind of sounded the same to me, but also I've listened to here's the thing. Here's the thing about being a lady lawyer. I've listened to so many dude attorneys piss with each other over court call and in court hearings that in my head it sounds like Charlie Brown teachers sometimes. And they all just kind of sounded the same. Everyone articulated their sides well. Everyone was very firm. Brown was very considered in his words, which I wasn't necessarily expecting after reading his declarations. Like, Salty sounds the way he writes in his motions. Like, it sounds very the same. For me, listening to Brown, there was a little bit more of a disconnect because he spoke more directly than his motions are written, which was nice to actually hear him just being like, it's this, it's this, it's this. I'm like, oh, that was succinct and direct. I get it. I understand. It's clear that there's a lot of frustration there. If I had to guess, because this was only on the phone, if I had to guess, I would say that Washington counsel for plaintiffs is the youngest of the three, and that Brown and Salty are probably around the same age. But yeah, that's a very good question, Casey. I appreciate it, but really, truly, listening to male attorneys get into pissing matches with each other, literally in my brain is just like, wah, 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 wah. There is something about being a female in a male-dominated field that there's times where you just have to tune out some of the bravado and some of the, I don't know, some of the sniping at one another, because again, if female attorneys go after one another like that, you inevitably get some male judge being like, ladies, why are we all so emotional? And you're like, the fuck did you just say to me? And then you get male counsel saying things like, oh, but Miss Baker, you're not smiling today. I'm like, this is my eat shit smile. I'm not smiling today because I'm not happy with you. But if I get too angry with you, then I'm going to get lambasted for that. So it's very interesting because listening, I don't know, I'm sure male attorneys filter this through different ears and different experiences, but through me, there are times when this happens and I'm just literally, it's like, wah, wah, wah. All the attorneys in this case sounded frustrated with each other, and the court was just like, stop, which I loved. I lived for the judge. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful and be like, go Babs, but also like, go Babs. Question. If this gets to trial, can KJ's side argue it's not defamation, even though KJ didn't say, in my opinion, for every statement, because her YouTube channel states it's a commentary channel? Oh, Bugsy. This is getting very deep into the issues of defamation that we haven't even gotten to yet. There are affirmative defenses to defamation. I imagine that KJ's defense will go along the lines of, yeah, I said it, and so what? It's not defamation because of there's no damages, because of it's true, because of context, because of whatever. So I imagine those will be their defenses. Question, does this mean she's accepting jurisdiction? I suspect, based on the time spent, that the court is more inclined to grant jurisdiction because, and this is monuments to the gods of speculation, because if the judge wasn't inclined to accept jurisdiction, I don't think she would have said, I have control over y'all, and y'all are going to shut the fuck up about this. What she said was, I have control over the attorneys and the parties in this case, plaintiff and defendant, and this is going to stop. Stop it. I imagine if she was not inclined to accept jurisdiction, she would have said something to the effect of, jurisdiction has not been settled in this case. I need all of you to behave properly while we regard jurisdiction. What she said is, I have control over the parties in this case and no one else. I don't know is how I feel with Tati stating she had been threatened and now everyone else is being threatened. I don't know how to feel with Tati stating she had been threatened and now everyone else is being threatened. Heather, it's strange, isn't it? It absolutely feels very, very strange to me. So it does. I agree. It feels weird. It feels weird. And I just want to make sure that I see all of the members in the chat. I just wanted to make sure I remembered to turn off members only chat, which I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was like, wait, I'm only seeing members in the chat. I thought I had turned off members only chat. I think I had turned off members only chat, but if I didn't, I'm so sorry, you guys. But it is off now. I apologize if that wasn't off before. That's my bad. I normally don't do just members only chat, so I apologize. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I just got into it and started chatting. Sorry. Oh, the mods might have did the mods turn on members only chat for me? They might have. They moved to members only chat because stuff was happening. Okay, so you guys, the mods pulled over the chat. Thank you, mods. If the chat needed to be pulled over, the mods make that decision. If the chat gets slammed or spammed, the mods absolutely have my my blessing if the chat gets spammed to just put everybody in timeout for a minute. So that's the mods pulling over the car on my behalf when things get too full or things get, spammed. So thank you, mods, for doing that. I have released you. Do not make the mods turn this car back around and put it back on members only chat because they'll do it. And I will support them in doing it. Question, I thought I hear a Southern bless your heart. Yes, Jake's baby cake, something like that. Do gag orders happen often? No. This court indicated that she had never issued a gag order in a case. Gag orders don't happen often. I've seen them most common in substantial criminal cases where there is ongoing investigation and statements made could hinder the ongoing investigation. And these tend to be very large, complex criminal cases where there are other victims or other connected crimes or potentially other parties involved. That's normally where you would see a gag order. You generally don't see a gag order over fuckery on Twitter because it shouldn't be happening. Like the beginning of a case should just be everybody shuts up and nothing happens. That's generally how it plays out. When I talk about cases like the Haley Page case, that is a case that has a social media element to it. They're fighting over an Instagram account. She has made 3 statements. They have all been very clearly written out. And then most of those statements have been, this is our side. We're still fighting. We believe in our case. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those are most of her statements. We're disappointed this is happening. We hope to come to a resolution. But that's it. That's generally what she's talking about in the case. In the Jeffree Star estate of Anna Nicole Smith case, what we're seeing is very limited conversation. Well, not even limited, no conversation. What we saw is a complaint being filed. It was covered by a few channels. I think Truth Sleuth is the first one that covered it. It was covered by a few channels. And then they went to mediation and nothing's happening. In the Tati Westbrook business partner lawsuit, it was covered by a few channels. It was covered by the mainstream media. And then a motion to dismiss was filed. And then that motion will be heard in September and nothing else is happening. So that's generally what we expect to see. Even in the Tom Girardi case, that case is buck fucking wild at this point. And I have a breakdown of that coming up on Wednesday for the podcast, just the bankruptcy part. But even that case is wild because there's so many parties involved and so many ancillary lawsuits, but nobody's really talking about it on social media. I mean, Erica Girardi hasn't addressed it on social at all, except for that one, doxing of a federal judge who may or may not have been a mistress. That was not good. But other than that, she's behaving on social as if she were. Nobody really knows where Tom is. So thank you, chat. Thank you. I just turned it back on. I released the Kraken. Don't make me regret it. I'm teasing. Thank you, mods, because I do get distracted and I do want to make sure to answer your questions in the time we have here. Has a date been set to rule on jurisdiction? No, the court did not set a noting date for it, but that doesn't mean the court can't just letter brief it and write it. So that happens. Let me get to questions. And another thank you to the mods. All right, questions. Where is your 100K? I want purple hair for your no sauce. I'm ready for purple hair too. We're at 83.3. So I'm ready for purple hair too. Let me answer some more of your questions. I went and turned it back on. So glad you're here. And it is always my goal to keep our streams not on members only chat and to make sure that we can all have a conversation, but also to make sure I can answer questions without the chat getting spammed. So did the judge talk about, this is a great question, Shatterstar, did the judge talk about the deleting of evidence? That wasn't even addressed because this was just a hearing on the motion for a status conference. The status conference regarding what's been going on social media, the status conference from Brown's perspective being, hey, we think plaintiff's counsel is accusing defendant in a way that is hurting her business, damaging her reputation, and litigating on social media. We want the court to intervene. And from plaintiff's side going, yeah, there's also death threats and shit. So we definitely need the court to intervene. That's what this hearing was about. But with regard to the motion to not delete your shit, that was decided by a stipulation between the two parties. That doesn't mean that if that has happened down the road, plaintiff's counsel won't still bring a contempt hearing to address it specifically. But that would be in contempt proceedings saying, Your Honor, we think that there has been contempt. And that would be just an order to show cause regarding contempt. Like, this is what we saw go down. This is what the court's ruling is. Help. I don't think there's even been time for that to happen. I still suspect that it will based on things we saw a month ago, but then so much has happened. I don't even think they've had time to contemplate it yet. So, let's see. Mary Jane Hall. No, didn't say that. Don't know how Brown's emails are being sent. That's kind of the vibe that I got is like, we don't know. We don't know. Emily, I don't know. It's something, it's so funny when you get together with a group of female attorneys and you talk about the things that they've experienced and the things that they've seen. And I've only lived my own experience. I don't know if that also happens to attorneys of color when they are the only one in the room. I don't know if that is worse for female attorneys of color because they're just like, okay, first we have to overcome this, then we have to overcome this. I only know from my experience, and I don't think a lot of male lawyers see it. When I was working, I definitely, when I opened up to my close friends, I was like, but did you see all of this go down in court? They're like, nope. I'm like, right. That was said to me that way because I am a woman. And it's very, very interesting. And it's not all attorneys, but it's frequent. It's changing with younger generations of attorneys and the profession becoming much more heavily balanced, male and female, and the kind of doors opening up for attorneys of color and different orientations. I worked with two attorneys who were transgender, and so they had their own journeys that they had to deal with from being one gender at the beginning of their career and then reassigning their gender to their proper identification for them. So it's just interesting working in a profession that's stodgy and has this kind of an old guard mentality. I'm sure that's not unique. I'm sure that people in the medical profession experience it. I'm sure that people in the military experience it. It's just, I only have my own experience to relay to you. And so when I say, how do the voices sound? And I say, sometimes it's like, wah, 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 that's what it is. Is there an FFS for today? Yeah, I set us to yellow today because I feel like we're on a fuckery advisory to see what happens next. Like the court didn't wig out. The court was very considered in this needs to stop. And I don't need to say it twice. But if it doesn't stop, the color will go up for sure. So we're like, oh, we're like yellow towards orange. So we're at like fuckery advisory towards fuckery afoot. But I thought that the court was very considered in the way that they did things. And I think that the court was very firm in the way that she handled things. I can see the frustration from both attorneys, and you can hear it on the call from both sides. And hearing Brown talk about his frustrations and then hearing Salty talk about his frustrations, it's just the same as the motions. It's like, we think they're doing this, we think they're doing this, make them stop it. And the court's going, you're all professionals, all of you need to stop. The attorneys and the clients, we're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. And hopefully that will slow it down. So let me try to get to some more questions. I see some super chats. Thank you. I've got to figure out why the emojis don't show up on StreamYard, because that would be really fun. Oh my God, that will be so much fun. I am what I am. I'll do my hair purple too when you hit 100K. We could have a whole like little social media purple hair takeover. Imagine the staff at Brown's office freaking out about their jobs once Salty said the emails are actually coming from Brown's email and not spoofed. I mean, it is a huge issue. Again, who knows how it happened? I hope, and Brown didn't say it, but I hope that when he said we are working with the FBI, that they are trying to figure out who is spoofing their emails. But it also makes sense that the court was like, y'all need to find a secure way to talk to each other. And that's probably just going to be in the chat. Did the court standing order get mentioned at all? No, you can't mark it off your court hearing bingo card. No, it didn't. All right, let me go to a few more questions. Let me see. Just wanted to say, have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you. In your opinion, if Tati wins defamation, what ramifications to other tea and commentary channels will occur? What changes will social media implement? That is a fantastic question. I think that's the question on a lot of people's minds. From the 9,000 of you up in here, let us know if that's been on your mind too. It depends on how the defamation is won. So there are 3 distinct kind of buckets of defamation in this case. There is the defamation against Tati Westbrook, a public figure. You can't argue. I mean, I guess you can argue, but you'd be wrong that she's not a public figure. Like, she's a public figure. There's defamation against James Westbrook, her husband. I don't know if he's going to be considered a public figure. I imagine defense will argue that he is. Plaintiffs will argue that he's not. I'll be interested to see how that's determined, or if he's a limited public figure. But to him, there's also some defamation per se, which means you don't have to prove monetary damages. And then there's defamation against the company. So there are kind of these 3 buckets. I could see a scenario where the defamation wins against James Westbrook, doesn't win against Tati Westbrook, and wins against the company. And then what does that change? Well, the defamation per se counts are things you generally wouldn't say in commentary anyway. Oh, this person's a quote career criminal. Oh, this person's that, this person's this. Generally, you're not going to make those kind of accusations without factual evidence. So those are very interesting questions. I think the case to James Westbrook, and I've said this before, is stronger than the case as to Tati Westbrook. I think the case as to the company is very interesting, just based on the flood of comments we've seen on social media of people saying, I stopped buying Halo because of these videos. So it's going to be a very interesting case. With regard to commentary and T channels, there is a clear line between defamatory statements and being like, this person... It turned over again. This person tweeted this, and that's shady as hell. Like, what? Do you think Trisha Paytas and Jeffree Star really got along? What about that video she made after the thing? She didn't seem upset in that video, but now she's upset now. And I can't believe that dude said that. That dude said that. That's shady. Like, bitch, please. Why are you saying that? That's different than, oh, and now this person is a, you know, you can call somebody a dick. You don't actually think they are a male member. But if you get into accusations with regard to sexual assault, being a predator, those types of things, those get into the defamatory statements. I think what gets confused in this case a lot is people are like, yeah, but what about bi sister? Why isn't bi sister defamatory if the things that KJ said are defamatory? Why isn't that a problem if this is a problem? And my answer to that, to everyone who asks, and I get asked quite frequently, like, well, but what about bi sister? Right, but James didn't sue over bi sister. So whether statements in by sister were defamatory or not is irrelevant unless James Charles sues for it, because he's the one the statements were about. So Tati Westbrook has sued over these statements. The fact that she might have made statements that might be actionable over here is irrelevant to these statements made about her, her business, and her husband over here. Saying like, Tati made the Bi Sister video. That Bi Sister video seems to say blah, 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 blah. That sucks. I think Tati sucks. Tati's the biggest mean girl on the internet. Why would you even say that? What a bitch. She's a terrible friend. She's an awful friend. She should never have said that. That kid's 19. That's disgusting. None of that's defamatory. But when you take it one step further of, I see these court documents say this, and then those court documents don't say that, then we get into problems. And that's what's being alleged in this case. So this defamation case doesn't say anything about whether Bi Sister is a problem or not a problem, because James Charles chose not to sue over that case. So that was a very, very, very long answer. Question, are we having another Zoom meeting for members? Yes, we are. It will be in the community tab. I picked a date. I had a lot on my plate yesterday and didn't get to put it up, but we will have a date and a time up in the community tab for members only. Also still waiting on jurisdiction. I am what I am. Let me see. I am confused as to how Brown's not worried about his email being messed with. Seems pretty serious. Seems serious to me too. I am also concerned about it. I hope that when he said in this, I have talked to the FBI, that means that an investigation is happening. When it comes into cyber stuff, you don't always want to talk about all of the things that are going on behind the scenes, because it can impede a cyber investigation. So my assumption that I'm working with is that Brown is handling that. This is the assumption, that Brown is handling that and doesn't want that investigation to be impeded by it being discussed publicly. That's my assumption, because I can't imagine an attorney at all not being concerned about it. It might just be that it is being handled. The court was like, y'all just need to talk. All this needs to stop and y'all just need to talk. What the fuck? And I couldn't agree more. Thank you to Brooke for helping everybody out with their new emojis. Let me see if there are any more questions. So let me see. Question. I heard that the judge asked Brown if his client knows who's behind the hacking, and Brown said no idea. Did Saltz then point out that KJ's been claiming to know who's behind it? So let me pull up my notes, because I have that interaction. And let me see what I typed out that stuck out in my mind. Give me 1 second. The court said, does your client have any idea where these are coming from? And Brown said none. She denies any involvement. No, Salty did not say that she says she knows who's behind it. Brown's representation to the court today was, the court asked question, does your client have any idea where these are coming from? And Brown said none. She denies any involvement. So no, Salty didn't say that she knows who's behind it. If that was said on social, I don't know what he knows. This case is already setting precedents with hiding those docs and declarations, which I don't like. Amy, yes, but I don't like it at all. A lot of stuff was put in through declarations that wouldn't have gotten in otherwise on both sides. And I don't love it. I woke up before my 4-year-old just to watch the stream. Hello, I should have made stronger coffee. You're also at 4,800 likes. Thank you for all the likes. You guys can keep those coming. I appreciate it. Question, wouldn't Brown know how to keep hackers? You do with the VPN. I don't know what they would have known. In my latest video, I actually have a NordVPN sponsorship. I love a VPN. A VPN isn't an end-all be-all, but it definitely helps. Law firms generally have really good email security because they are dealing with such sensitive information. So I'm hoping it's being addressed. Question, can Salty still ask questions and gather evidence and witnesses online? Yes. I don't think the court has said that that's not proper. It seemed to me that the court had an issue with the constant back and forth. But again, from my perspective, Salty was following up on things that were like, oh, was that really in a video? Oh, do you have a screenshot of those comments deleted? Yes, there were tweets in there that Brown has particular issues with. I totally get it. From my perspective, a lot of what was seen, what I saw was responsive to things that were happening. So if those things stop happening, there's no need to be responsive. So if there's no video with super chats on it with somebody saying they're from Washington, there's no need to ask for screenshots, if that makes sense. Welcome, channel members. Thank you. 5,000K need more thumbs up. Thank you very much. Emily's giggle is hilarious at 2 times speed. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. I thought I turned it off. The mods might have turned it back on. Mods, will you let me know if members only is on or off just in our chat? After today, what do you think the conversation is going to be like with Brown and KJ? I don't know. I'm sure KJ listened to it. I'm sure Brown is going to say something to the effect of the court told Salty to knock it off. That means we are also not going to be talking on social media. The court also said that this behavior shouldn't be happening. And I wonder if Brown's interpretation will be that the court directed that entirely at Salty, because I also heard not the court just talking about social, but all of the back and forth with the declarations too, is what I thought. So, all right. Maud, will you let me know what was going on? Just so, or let them know, let everybody know after today. So I got to that. Excuse me. I work in the legal field and I'm assigned to 5 judges. Of my 5 judges, 4 are female. So awesome. Patricia, that is so awesome. When I worked for judges, both of my judges were male. I really enjoyed them very, very much. They both had daughters. They were both really cool judges. They were both very strict. So this never would have flown in their courtrooms. I'm sure if you talked to any of your judges about what's going on, your judges would have empathy and be like, I would lose my mind. I would absolutely lose my mind. So question, feel free to answer later, but is it possible for the beauty influencers ignoring COVID precautions in LA to be held legally responsible, i.e. going to parties? I don't know what particular regulations are. I know that in LA, they had started saying that they were going to like shut down power to houses and fine people. So it's really based on whatever's within the scope of the regulations in LA. Can there be consequences? Yes. LA definitely is pretty strong about that. So absolutely we can see what happens. It just depends on LA. I know LA's shut off water to some of the party houses and stuff like that. So we'll see. I see somebody who said it's their first chat. Welcome. Welcome, Pauline. Working overnights, I usually have to watch the replay. So excited to make live. Welcome, SLW. Thanks for all you do to make this mess and others make sense and infusing humor. You're welcome. I think I'm funny sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, it's a dad joke. I'm totally not funny, but I just go there anyway. Thanks. This is for your mom and dad. Maybe they can share a coffee. Thank you so much, Shocked Kitten. I always enjoy seeing them on Fridays. I have to remind them how to get onto the YouTubes because they watch me generally on Facebook. She knew who the hacker was. Why wasn't this brought up in the court hearing? I don't know. When the attorney was questioned, he said she doesn't know. That's what he represented to the court. On this hearing today, attorneys are under an obligation to represent the truth to the court. No one's under an obligation to represent the truth on social media. So I'm going to lean toward the attorney on that one, not misrepresenting things to the court because I don't think that they would. I mean, there's being an advocate and looking at your client's side and being like, this is my client's side. I interpret these facts in the most beneficial way to my client. That's advocacy. But also, you can't misrepresent things to the court. So if it's known to them, I can't imagine he would say to the court that it was not known to them, because if that came out, that would be hugely problematic. So I can't imagine him not saying, yes, we believe we know who it is. We're under investigation. We will submit a report to the court, because that's what Salty said. He said, our side is investigating it. We'll submit a report to the court. So, trying to get to questions. Can you still talk about leaving your job 4 years ago? Yes, Leanne, I'm going to tell that story on Instagram later today because I'm trying to keep the lives topical. And though I will have the Q&A open, but I will absolutely tell that story. You know what? If we don't get too many more questions and we have a little time, maybe I'll tell it here. Maybe. Can Brown keep KJ off of social? I mean, he can tell her what the court said, and hopefully that will happen. Haley said, I super chatted a while ago. Do you think the judge read any of the docs or knew that all of this pertains to the dismissal and not even to Tati, the plaintiff? I'm sorry that I missed your super chat. A bunch of them came in and they jumped, but the court had what do I think about how the court saw it? The court knew that they were really focused on the social media shenanigans with regard to these latest issues, with regard to the Nat declaration, with regard to the hacking, with regard to those allegations. That's really what they were focused on. So a lot of what is going on in this particular motion to dismiss isn't specific to the motion to dismiss. All of this was specific to what's been going on social media. I guess we'll see. Question off topic. Do you watch D'Angelo Wallace Influencer 19 video? It was great. He got real emotional in it. It's about celebrities and influencers ignoring COVID restrictions. I have not seen it yet. I think D'Angelo Wallace is a tremendous creator. I love the way he puts together videos. He is wise beyond his age. And it's always helpful for me to see the perspective of younger creators, because there's times when I'm just like, get off my lawn. But I'm old. So there's times when I'm like, am I being unreasonable in this? Like, am I overly cautious? So it's always helpful for me, especially with COVID stuff, to see how a younger creator takes that. So let me see. Welcome to the channel. Can you cover the ADT lawsuit? An employee of ADT was able to get into over 200 customers' accounts and stalk women. That's troubling. I had not even heard that was going on. So I will put it on my list. I have a list. I have a running list of stuff I want to take a look at. So thank you, law nerds. Thank you, Jakes. What is the role of law clerks and research attorneys in all of this? Are they briefing the judge, or is she personally parsing through everything? It was clear to me that the judge said, I don't want to be flipping through all these emails of who did what to who at all. But yes, the research attorneys, sometimes there are law clerks and research attorneys, or they interchange what they are called. But yes, there are generally research attorneys reading all this stuff and briefing the court and giving them a rundown of what everything is. So that is their role in assisting the judge, so that the judge can focus on, like in this, the judge needs to be focused on, with regard to the defamation, what is the law saying with not the defamation, the motion to dismiss jurisdiction. What is the law on regards to jurisdiction? What have the courts said about it? What are the facts presented here? And really use the brain space to parse those deep legal issues, not the back and forth of who said what to who on the Twitter. And that's where the research attorney kind of breaks down what is the most relevant for the court, so the judge can decide what the law says and how these facts apply to the law. So, thank you so much, Diva, for a reminder. No personally identifying information in the chat window, big security no-nos, and we leave our chats live. So how long do you think? I hope throughout this case. I mean, again, if Salty's not saying anything, there's nothing to respond to, and then all of the conversation of the commentary will just be around what's filed in court. And I think that that's a good thing. I don't think that KJ should be getting harassed. I don't think that anyone should be getting harassed with regards to this. So I don't know. Let me ask the mods, because they normally only turn it on if the chat's getting spammed. So if the mods will let me know in the window, I'm sure they've let you guys know, but I didn't see it. Question, what was the number to call into the audio when it was live? It was on the court's website. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it was up on the court's website docket. Thank you, Brooke. Could a junior associate be writing KJ's declarations? That's why it sounded different. I mean, it's totally possible. Totally possible. So, okay. Let me give 1 second here. I'm trying to get to a few more questions. But yes, I mean, it's totally possible. It was just it was very, mm, it was very, Brown was very kind of concise, and it was easier to understand what their perspective was than it getting buried in these declarations. Their perspective was essentially, um, the way that Salty's talking about this on social media is doing damage to our client. And that's kind of where Salty seems to be coming from too, is the amount of KJ talk on social media is damaging to our case and our client and future witnesses. So both sides seem to be in agreement that talking on social media needs to stop. Hopefully that will just be able to happen with regards to both of them. Um, do you think the attorneys will be able to stop sniping at each other? I hope so. I hope after the court said y'all need to talk and get it figured out that that actually happens. Um, so I hope so. And let's see, we're at an hour. I'm going to tell the story about my quit day pretty soon because then I'll just timestamp it here and let everybody know it's here since I didn't get to it last time. Question: can we schedule a glamping trip meetup when things settle down? I think it's a fantastic idea. Someone sent a super chat asking why members only was still on and it got deleted. I didn't see it get deleted because I pulled it up. So I pulled this one up and I saw it and I responded to it. It looked like the chat was getting spammed, but I asked the mods if they would turn off members only. But if the chat does get spammed, that's the only reason members only goes on. So, girl, I'm 20 and I'm like, get off my lawn more than I'd like to admit. It's totally fair. And during COVID, it is very, very fair. Question: hope you and yours are doing good. How are your own investigations going with regard to your threats? Emma, it is going. And again, with regard to cyber stuff, when I have the information that I can share, I will absolutely share it. But yeah, we are doing that stuff. Off topic. Why is it so hard to get a no contact order or restraining order? Alyssa, that is such a long it depends answer. Unfortunately, it depends, but there has to be a pretty high burden. Generally, there has to be a pretty high burden of evidence to restrain somebody's actions or behaviors. So that's generally why, and it just depends on jurisdiction. So thank you, mods. I'm going to try to get to some more questions. I have a couple episodes of the podcast about LuLaRoe. I have not checked back in with that lawsuit, but I need to check back in with that lawsuit. It's also in Washington. There are 2 episodes of the Emily Show podcast. They're older episodes from early last year, but I do need to do a check-in with that. I'm very, very interested. She has said, question: if this case gets dismissed, what are the other options for Tati to get someone to stop talking about her? If the case gets dismissed on jurisdiction, they'll just refile it and keep going. So they'll just refile it and keep going. Other than that, I mean, short of cease and desist and lawsuits and agreements, there isn't a ton you can do other than take it to the platforms. But the platforms are often reluctant to act until there's been a court order. So it becomes a catch-22. I mean, you definitely see people that are like, whatever, sue me, go for it. And not just in this case, in other cases too, you see that happening. So if this gets dismissed for jurisdiction, I just think they'll refile it somewhere else. Let me see. I'm looking for questions. Not sure if you answered this. My phone died. When are the monthly member only live streams? Thank you. That is a fantastic question, Samantha. They are the first Thursday of every month, and they will be posted in the community tab for members. It is February, so there will be one this Thursday at 7 p.m. And that is generally a Q&A, but that is sometimes topical as well. So it just depends on the month. I agree. I like his dry sense of humor. Every time D'Angelo's like, whatever, I'm so attractive, I'm like, but boo, you kind of are. Like, he tries to be self-deprecating, but he's also adorable. So he's just too funny. I really enjoy his content. We'll see. We will see. We will see. It's good to see you guys. Let me try to get to questions. Questions. Have the threats and online actually stopped? On Twitter, it has stopped. So that is why. Nats, why was members only chat on for so long? It looks like the chat was getting spammed, but I will talk to the mods about that afterwards. If the chat was getting spammed, then that's why it was on, because it's tremendously distracting to your ADD host up in here. Absolutely not, Martin. Our mods have their conversations with me, and my mod leads talk to me every single live stream and know what I have asked for to keep this chat and to keep the Law Nerds space a place for compassionate and kind conversation, and also a place where we can have conversations with regard to what we're talking about. So no, the mods are not power hungry. The mods are asked by me to keep our Law Nerds chat, even when interest is brought from all over the internet for a specific topic, to keep the Law Nerds chat the way our chat always is. So no matter if we have 60 people in here or 10,000 people in here, the chat for me is going to feel the same way. And that's a community that I am cultivating. The mods help me do that. That means things like spamming or self-promotion or all caps or repetitive question asking, all that stuff kind of detracts from the experience of being in our chat. I have found that the chat is one of the things that the members enjoy the most, and that the Law Nerds community that are here week after week and live after live really enjoy is getting to see each other and getting to enjoy one another. So that is why when that gets wild, they on occasion will turn on members only chat. It doesn't happen often, but that is what it is. No, the mods are not power hungry. The mods keep reins on this channel because we do not have a Thunderdome style chat here. And that is coming from me. I want our chat to be respectful. I say every show that we don't make judgments about people. We're not just besmirching people. We're having conversation and we're asking questions. So that's what it is. Tim, I completely understand not everybody can afford to join, and I don't put on members only chat to try to encourage people to join. That was a decision that was made, and we will absolutely have a conversation about it. And the mods and I have a private chat that goes, and when they need to turn on members only chat, I trust them to keep our chat the place that we always have it, because there is a vibe to our chat, and that Law Nerd vibe is very important to me. I was a subscriber of KJ in Washington. Do I have a duty to do anything? No, Alexa, you don't have to get involved at all. It's just knowledge. I think the only reason that became so big is because in that first declaration, KJ said, I don't have any viewers or subscribers in Washington. And that's why it became so big. Welcome, Stephanie. First time live. Thank you for being here. Question, are there ways other than email for lawyers to communicate? Yes. They can communicate all by phone. And a lot of lawyers do communicate mostly by phone. And the emails are normally when's the best time to call. So here's the thing with emails. Emails can be taken a whole bunch of ways. In the podcast episode I have coming up Wednesday, there are some very snippy exchanges that I read, and you can get the tone of some of these emails. But sometimes it's really hard to have a meeting of the minds conversation over email, and it just has to be dealt with. Over the phone. So a lot of back and forth is, be advised, can we talk? Question, will Brown's firm have to tell Perth client about an email breach? I don't know what Perth client is. I don't know. Who made the bingo cards? Where can I find them? People were making their own individual bingo cards, and there was a example on Twitter, on my Twitter. And I will absolutely tag that again, but it's on my Twitter. I'm not a member yet, but thank you, mods, for taking care of business. So distracting, another ADHD here. And that is the thing. At the end of the day, I want to be able to answer your question and answer everyone's questions. And if I'm scrolling through other stuff, I can't do that. And so for me as a creator, the mods help me bring my vision of a community to life here on my channel. And that is a place where I can get to everyone's questions as best as I can, that I can answer questions from members, from non-members, from super chats, and not from super chats. And the only way I can do that is if I'm able to see them. But I also still want you guys to be able to have conversation in the chat, because I know that that's a lot of fun. And to balance those two things, the mods know that that making sure that I can keep up with the chat is really important to me, because it's the way I can connect best with you. So that is what it is. Unrelated, was it like being a lawyer with ADHD? I have ADHD and can't imagine. Polly, it takes it takes work, it takes self-awareness, and it also takes, this is a perfect segue from what I was just talking about. It takes understanding the way I work best. And part of that for me when I live stream is the mods helping me with how I work best and knowing how I work best. So it's understanding myself first, and then it's trying to not overwork so I don't sleep, because that's when I get totally fucked. If I don't sleep, I get totally fucked up, and then it's harder for me to process information. It's harder for me to keep going. So I really do have to mind my mind, if you will. God, that sounds like such like a douchey and like mind your mind right now, $9.99. Like, I don't even know, but you have to mind your mind and know when you have the most energy, how you work the best, and what you need for those conditions. I keep a notebook literally, and I use this one particularly, but I keep this on the side of my desk so I can literally write like random notes throughout the day of stuff, and then I can just pull them. Receipts. I have the receipts, because I haven't done my end of the month bookkeeping yet. Don't at me. It's only February 2nd. But I love these because then I can just pull it out and like whatever, be done with it. So I keep this type of, are these ARC? What is this? This is a tool kind of ARC bound little notebook. I keep it legitimately, because I love purple, on the side of my desk, right next to my right hand. So when stuff pops into my brain, I can write it down. And that happens when I'm live too. Tai, yes, we can. I'm working on it. So did they have a Zoom court proceeding? I don't know if the attorneys were on video. I believe that the attorneys in the court were on video. The observers got to listen on audio. Question, would it have been different if it would have been Brown and Salty rather than KJ and Salty going off on social media? I don't know, because maybe if it was just the attorneys going back and forth, but even then at some point, this is all crossed the line because of the death threats, like all of it just ramped up in such a strange way. And I still don't understand why it all popped off the way that it popped off. But I also, looking at what Salty's Twitter behavior was and looking at what KJ's Twitter behavior was, I don't think that Salty was the one fanning the flames the most, from my opinion, but some might look at what he was doing on Twitter and be like, no, he was fanning the flames the most. It just all got so amped up. And I also don't think the channels commenting on this case are necessarily behind that. There's interest in this case, but the channels that I watch, like Uncivil and Nate, when they talk about this case, and I think me too, but it's hard to observe oneself. We talk about the facts of the case. And for Uncivil and Nate, they both watch even less of what goes on social media and more of what goes on in the documents. I know that I enjoy the pop culture side of this more because I've followed the beauty community since before Bi Sisters. So there's just coverage of what's being said. Other channels like Drama and Opinions and like, Truth Sleuth and like others bring in, this is what's said in the court documents. These are the video clips we've seen. And they bring in their opinion. So I don't really see, if there are other channels that are going hard there, that's always possible. I don't see everything on the internet, but I think there's definitely been flames being fanned by this. And I think that KJ is a part of that. Are others a part of that? Maybe. But if the attorneys were involved, I don't think there would be any back and forth because there would be no reason for it because there'd be no statements being made. So hopefully it will all settle down. Question, the court different from the judge? No, Eunice, this is a fantastic question. This is where my 15 years of legal experience, I just shorthand things. when referring to the judge, you generally refer to the court. The court said this, the court said that. It's like the queen. It's just like the queen, the crown. So referring to the queen and the crown as the same thing, the judge and the court are interchangeable. So when I talk about the court, I'm always relating to what the judge is saying, because the judge is the court, just like the queen is the crown. Do you think KJ and Brown are going after Salty because they don't have faith in their case? I don't understand. I really don't understand the amount of money that's being spent early on in this case. I don't understand the ramp up of it. I just don't understand. But I don't know. They will know. I just don't know. Nicole, thank you. I think the mods are doing a great job. Thank you. Question, can Nat accuse Brown of defaming her for what he said? I mean, again, the way what was said matters, but also Nat in her declaration said that there were these, that she had mental health issues or mental disorders. I don't know which word was used in that declaration. You guys can go back and watch that video. So Brown was saying, based on what she said, I believe that as a witness, she's not credible. So that is his interpretation, but there wasn't an evidentiary hearing. So again, when it comes to litigation privilege, the things said in the context of litigation are very, very heavily protected. Whether people will like how things were said or what was said is totally different, but actionable, it's all within the context of litigation, and it's all really covered by litigation privilege. Let me get to a few more questions. I did not hear about the 200,000 fake cows Tyson case. You sent a text about it. I will go look for it. The text crew has gotten very large, but I will absolutely go look for a link to it. Thank you. I have not been in DMs, in email, or on social a ton over the last few days because I have just been trying to catch up on work. So I will go look for it. I had not heard about that. Can Salty still collect information on Twitter? I believe he can still collect information, but not talk about the case. So it will need to be careful, if anything. And I would imagine what could happen going forward with Salty could say, look, there's indications of this. I'm going to ask about that. This is what I'm doing. So we'll see. I feel like Brown wasn't talking to the FBI about his email because he had said that Nat was fabricating the emails. He did say that. And Salty said, no, they're coming from your email, and Nat doesn't have a computer. She's not fabricating the emails. Clearly, we're not at the bottom of what actually is happening with the emails and the Twitter threats and all of it. Will we, watching this happen, know what happens? Maybe not, because at some point it's going to have to be dealt with the proper authorities. So I think I answered that. Is it possible that KJ told Brown she didn't know? Anything's possible. But when you're representing stuff to the court, you need to be careful when you represent stuff to the court. Let me try to answer a few more questions. Question, can anything being said against Salty by KJ and Brown be fodder for a future defamation case? Can we just have, oh God, I hope not. And again, litigation privilege does cover quite a lot of what happens in the context of litigation. Question, if a drama channel that solely reported the facts of a story without any bias of the facts to make a person look bad, can that be defamation? Emma, it's really hard to answer without specific facts because that is a very broad hypothetical, but there are obligations for true stories. But again, saying the New York Times is saying, for example, the New York Times has reported that Trump only paid, what was it, $500 or $1,000 or whatever ridiculously low number it was in taxes. The New York Times said this. The New York Times said that. Now you're just reporting what someone else has reported. You're not adding to it. You're not extrapolating on it. That is going to be covered by reporting. So it just depends. Let me see. It sounds like my husband's on the phone, which is, I'm like, oh, I can hear you in here. Question, does the court assume that Salty's comment online reflected what the plaintiff, Tati, believes is her stance? It didn't seem that way from what the court was saying. The court was really asking, like, right. These things seem to imply that, and you also seem to believe that, and that's a problem for me. So what we're not going to do is that. Um, do I think that Salty and Brown were making faces at each other over Zoom? I love this question so much. No, I don't think experienced attorneys would be pulling faces in front of a judge that's already annoyed with both of them. I don't think that would happen at all. The judge was like, all of this needs to stop. I don't think they're going to be sitting there like, but maybe in their brains, because it seems that this has gotten off the rails, and there is this constant like, well, he did this and he did this and he did this and he did this with the two of them. I'm trying to get through questions. Could KJ's posting Nat's email address and saying that the emails was attempting to hack YouTube be considered intimidation of a witness? Eden, I don't know what they will consider intimidation. I think everyone involved should want to get to the bottom of what was going on Twitter, and I hope that focus happens. Question, if it's found out that KJ is behind the hacking, what is the way forward for the defamation case? I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even know. The defamation case would still have to go forward, but there would be a lot more information that would come forward. What war paint and unicorns? It took me a minute to parse those out, but war paint and unicorns, I love that. How did you find a way to proofread your documents in work as a dyslexic? I can't do it unless I don't see it for a week. I read it the way I think I've written it. It's beyond frustrating. Same war paint. I had typos. I still have typos on stuff. Typos still happen. Not sponsored, but maybe hit me up. Your girl's happy to do. Just I do use Grammarly because at least it highlights things, because my brain will fill in the gaps. I also don't always see other people's typos because my brain fills in the gaps. I am not a great proofreader. And at the DA's office, it's not like you had a legal secretary who could proofread stuff. In the event that I ever do more writing, like even my blog posts, every now and then people will be like, typo. And I'm like, probably not a typo, probably me just not catching it. But I do use Grammarly. It does help. I have my kids use Grammarly because it does highlight, and I rely on that. It's not perfect if you're using a word in the wrong context, but I pay for the other level, so it will. Question, what do you think this case will go back to being about Tati and KJ again? Because it doesn't even feel like a defamation case anymore, right? It feels like everyone sucks on Twitter. That's how this case feels right now. I hope that the court's strong words to stop it today will allow this case to just have a ruling on jurisdiction and then just go forward. I very, very much hope that that's what happens. I'm going to try to sweep just 2 more questions, and then I will tell you guys about my quit day 4 years ago yesterday. I saw a few super chats that I didn't get to. From Christina, it says, just want to say thank you for your commentary on this case and thanks for maintaining a great community. You're welcome, Christina. It is my first goal. Snarky Coffee, great handle. Thank you. Thank you for covering this. I'm at work listening. I know I'm easy to listen in the background when we're not just pulling up documents. So let me answer a few more questions. Fake cows does sound like a great case. I'm very interested in fake cows. A major Washington cattle operator allegedly fed 200K cattle that didn't exist. Oh, so we're gonna get into fraud. It sounds like. We'll see. That's interesting. I will definitely see. Can we get a mom he's touching me emoji? I don't know what. We'll get a poke emoji, but then it'll be misused. But I'm kind of here for it, so it's fine. I have not been in my DMs nearly enough, so I am sorry if I missed it, but I will be getting to it. Question, is the Facebook group still active? This is a great question, Ellie. I put up a post there yesterday that I am going to be shuttering the Facebook group for a bit just because of how fast and big the community is growing here on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter, and on the text community, because it's hard to be everywhere. And then me and the executive team are working on where we're going to have a community where everyone can chat, not just in pre-parties and live streams and stuff. So for now, the Facebook group is ramping down. That's what the judge said today. It's me, Mini T. The judge said, I don't want to see any of this. All of you stop it. All of you stop it. And that included the parties, which are Tati and KJ, and the attorneys. So hopefully that will just all stop. I have not talked about this yet, but it is wild stuff. We will see what happens. Question related to cows. Did anything come of the Ben and Jerry's Happy Cow lawsuit? I will have to circle back on it. It was a very, very interesting one. Okay. We are at, I love hearing about other people's struggles with ADHD. It makes me feel much more normal. I mean, Christina, we're all kind of unique in the way we do things, right? We all think differently. We all process things differently. The best we can do is try to empathize with one another and then hear where other people are coming from in their experience, which is something I absolutely try to do here, is make sure we can listen to each other's experiences and go, oh, I didn't know you experienced it this way. One of my favorite DAs that I worked with is somebody who mentioned to me when I was having a lot of health issues that food allergy testing might be super helpful. And I was like, really? You think? And he's like, this was my experience with this. Let me tell you why. And when we started talking, he realized he was allergic to chocolate, which feels like death, like to your soul, but he was allergic to chocolate and a few other things and ingredients in chocolate. And he was like, I didn't know growing up that when you ate chocolate, like it didn't make your tongue kind of fat and it like made my throat burn and it kind of made my stomach upset. He goes, I thought people thought that that was a good feeling. So he goes, I thought that everyone ate chocolate and experienced what I experienced and that they just liked it and I just didn't like it. Versus this is an allergic reaction where my throat is swelling up and I probably shouldn't eat this thing. And that is a lot of our experiences when we don't talk about, oh, for me, it works like this. We don't even know. It's one of the things I experienced most strikingly with my female friends during pregnancy, mine and theirs, being like, oh, girl, here's the, like, let me tell you the tea on this. Like, this is the stuff nobody tells you. And you're like, why don't we ever talk about this stuff? So I try to talk about, hey, this is my experience with my ADHD in case it sparks something for you and you can share experiences when you're comfortable, because that's how we A, become more empathetic and learn, and B, how we all grow in our understanding. It's the same with hearing people's experiences being, I'm in the middle of Year of Yes again, because I listen to it every January and I didn't finish it in January, but by Shonda Rhimes, who I adore. She talks about her experiences being, she calls it a first only different, being a female showrunner, being a Black female showrunner. And it's so interesting to listen and empathize to how other people experience instead of saying, no, that's not your experience. It's like, oh, that's your experience. And everything should be, oh, that's your experience. Oh, that's how you interpreted this. Then let's talk about it. So I'm going to share a real quick story and then we're going to wrap up. We've been on for almost 2 hours. I need water. Thank you. Okay. So I should grab my badge because the badge took a while to get. We should grab it. So 4 years ago, February 1st, I went into my boss and told him I was quitting the district attorney's office. It was very sad. There was lots of paperwork to do. And this, I had to turn in my badge and then get it loose-sided so I could get it back. But that is hard to see, but that's my county of LA because of course it's clear, but it fits into the aesthetic so well. I didn't realize how much I would love everything being in like lucite. And now I'm just like lucite. But I knew for a while that I was wanting to leave the office. I knew for a while that was a decision that I had to make. It was very, very scary because that was my dream job. That was my dream career. I loved it. I loved being a DA, but I was having so many health issues. So that was part of the reason I chose to leave and go into entrepreneurship. One of my executive team members, NJ, who you guys see pop up in the chat, we had been at a conference that January and I was like, no, I'm leaving. I'm getting ready to give my TED Talk. My TED Talk was in April of that year. So February 2017, my official last day of work was February 1st, 2017. And when I went into my boss, he would just looking at me, and he still is a DA. When I would run into him around town before we moved, it was always fun to catch up and chat. There's been a lot going on at the LA County DA's office as of late that's in the news. We'll talk about it another day, but he was just like, I'm sad that you're leaving. I'm like, I'm sad that I'm leaving too, honestly. I just have to. I have to do something different. I have to forge a new path. I have to do something different for my family, for my health, and for me. Because again, I never expected to have a YouTube channel that grew like this, to have an amazing community like all of you, or to just get back to receiving death threats because of things that I'm talking about. It's so weird how it comes full circle 4 years later. But at some point, being a DA and putting my family at risk was weighing on me, and then my health was weighing on me, and it was time to really do something more. And I wanted to do more, and I don't know, I felt like I was killing myself for a job where I couldn't do as much as I wanted to do, and I felt like I was becoming like a shell of who I wanted to be. And that is a hard place to be when it's like your dream job too, which is why I talk about it in my TED Talk. When it's your dream job, you're like, why am I unhappy with my dream job? Like, my life is great. Why am I unhappy with my dream job? And it feels like I worked so hard and spent so much money, so much money to become a lawyer and to do this thing. And then I'm not happy. Like, I'm really not happy. And it's hard to admit because it feels like, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. It was just part of my journey, and it was just for that time. I think we get that way with relationships too, right? When you leave a relationship that didn't work for you and you're like, that was a giant mistake. Sometimes yes, but often it's just the way that you learn and the way that you're being taught the lessons you need to learn. And so it took me a while to come around to this wasn't a mistake. It was just that 10-year part of my journey that allowed me to now be here where I get to be 100% me. I can be ridiculous. We choose what we talk about. I can use my legal knowledge, my trial knowledge, and my life experience to share and build a community with y'all to break down cases. But my boss was like, you're such a good trial lawyer. I'm like, thank you, but I can't do it anymore. And he's like, I completely understand. He's like, is there any way that we can make it work? I'm like, no, because even if I'm not in trials, if I'm a DA here doing filing or doing this and that, I'm going to feel brokenhearted every day coming to work that I'm not in trial, that I'm not doing the work that I want to be doing, but I can't do the work that I want to be doing in the way I was doing it. And it was hard for me to say that I wanted more than my dream job, but I wanted to be able to be more me and in a bigger way and to help and have more of an impact. And when I started working with entrepreneurs, I was like, oh, I'm working with this entrepreneur and they're building this and they're impacting thousands and hundreds of thousands. And that's just one. And then I can work with this person and this person and this person. And then me working with these 10 people has a much bigger ripple effect because of the good they're doing in the world than me just doing these not small, but these few cases that impact a few people. I wanted to have more impact than that. And I also wanted to protect my health and my family. So it was a tough day. I mean, I definitely came home and cried, but I also felt relieved. I was so grateful to my boss who was so kind. And he's like, whatever you do, you're going to do great things. And I was like, thanks for believing in me, man. I appreciate it. And the thing about leaving something like the DA's office is I knew my colleagues, and I trust my colleagues. I'm like, they're good. They've got this. Like, they don't need me. I need this job. They don't need me. Yes, I was good at my job, but I'm good at a lot of things. It just wasn't filling me up anymore. And I trusted the people who I left. It's like, okay, I can step away, but you guys have this. And this office will be fine. It doesn't need me. This office is a machine. And when I had health issues, like, I was out. That when I tore my ACL, I was at work, and then the next day I wasn't at work, and people picked up my shit off my desk and it got handled. And so I knew that me like opting out would not really impact them. It had a big impact on me. And it was definitely a lesson to allow me to step back and just be like, okay, how can I have the impact I want to have and still be myself and not feel like I am crumbling on the inside, because that wasn't fair to my family. And someday I'll talk more about the walls that kind of get put up when you work in a traumatic job. But for me, it really was terrifying. It was liberating. It was terrifying. It was liberating. And the journey from there to now has been full of changes and ups and downs, and getting into the shift that came this summer with shifting more into the podcast and then shifting more here into YouTube has allowed me to help everyone break down the law so we all can talk about facts, not fuckery. And when we talk about fuckery, we can be like, aha, there it is. There's the fuckery. I see it. And it's been life-changing. And I didn't really ever think that in my 40s, I would be on a different career path that put me much more in the public, and much more seen for being 100% me and navigating being seen as 100% me. And it's really truly been a blessing, but it's also been work. Unlearning some of the bad habits about work for me is still something I'm dealing with. And then having time to work on myself through therapy, through movement, through life coaching, through just being aware of the stories I've told myself. It's been such an incredible journey. And I love that I keep getting to share it with you guys. I feel like from 2017 to now, I need a updated, like TED Talk. I need a like part 2 to like what I've learned in the 4 years since then, because you continue to grow. And I think that's the thing I hope that this channel brings, is that you can always learn more. You can always look at things from a different angle. You can continue to grow. We're never done learning and growing and becoming more of ourselves. And whether that is a shiny, sparkly badass, which is what I talk about in my TED Talk, or whether that is someone who's just considered and present and thoughtful, whatever it is, somebody who's rebellious, somebody who's, unstoppable, you can grow and you can continue to change. And that's the wonderful thing about being human. We get to pick our path, and you get to pick who you are, and just what you do for money or how you earn money or how you support your living doesn't determine who you are, your value, and your worth. You're the one who determines that, not anyone else. Not likes, though it's always fun. You're welcome to like and subscribe and all the things. It is fun and it helps things get found, but that's not my self-worth. My self-worth comes from me. And then what I bring to the world comes from our connections together. And so thank you guys for being here. I think I've wrapped up like 1,700 times today. Thank you for a 2-hour ride for Coffee and Cursey Words. I will have a new video episode of the podcast a little bit later on Wednesday. You'll see that go up. It'll be a little later. I will have a new Friday Night Live. And then Thursday, we have our members only live stream. This month's going to be a Q&A. So that's Thursday at 7. That's the schedule for the week. Thank you guys for being with me on a Tuesday. I will see you soon. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube